Welcome back. You're tuned in to Editor's Roundtable. You're on CNBC-TV18. Well, we're still in conversation with Ashwini Agarwal. Ashwini, I wanted to ask you about this fall in crude oil prices. Now, that's a positive from an India macro perspective, but there are also various sectors and themes that could see that tailwind. What do you like to play this theme? You have OMCs as one. The paint companies that have been big underperformers, they in fact have a bit of a tailwind on that front, and we're expecting demand to pick up. Some price increases that were taken earlier as well will flow through. Or will you just simply go with the aviation company, the leader, or maybe the smaller one in there? How would you play this?
So, great question, Nigel. But for that, for doing any of that, I first need to develop the ability to be able to forecast crude oil, which I don't.
But I mean, crude oil prices right now is sub $65 per barrel. So assume that, sub $70 per barrel as well. If you told someone a year or so ago, everyone would say no chance. Everyone's working with that $75, $80, $85 per barrel. So at sub $70 per barrel, I think that's still a tailwind, right? To most.
So it is. It is a tailwind for India. It's a tailwind for inflation. It's a tailwind for transportation. I think the only disappointment here is that a lot of the fall in crude hasn't really reflected in prices for diesel or for petrol, which might actually help a lot of industries that are transportation heavy, cement, for example. Of course, it's a tailwind for OMCs and it's a tailwind for aviation companies. And it is a tailwind for a lot of the petrochemical feedstock businesses in plastics and what have you, and a lot of the inputs in the chemicals and pharmaceutical industry. But again, the fear is that in many of these places, the end product prices are equally soft because of the disruption in demand patterns that are occurring globally. And one doesn't really know where all of this is going to sit down. The other thing that we haven't spoken about is the US dollar and the rupee exchange rate. So while, a stronger rupee is great for inflation and great for landed cost of crude oil, it also has a significant headwind for exporters, especially in petrochemicals, medicines, and so on and so forth, which have a lot of the petrochemical value in their cost of production. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. You're probably right that airlines offer an idea, but I haven't played it so far, no.
Right. If not airlines, then are you taking the road? Just wanted to know what your thoughts on the auto stocks are, because we had the monthly data for the previous month come by. Not very different from what the street was anticipating, but the leader out there, Maruti, did a shade better. You have, a couple of two-wheelers doing a lot better as well, the likes of TVS Motors, etc. With the kind of headwinds that there are for auto companies that export, do you see this as an opportunity for domestic-focused companies, if the belief is that maybe this year would see some revival in consumption?
If you see, the demand for autos has been fairly tepid after the initial big bounce that we saw post-COVID. And a lot of that has to also do with what's happened to the prices of automobiles because of the safety standards and because of upsizing in the four-wheeler market, where everybody's kind of moved on to the MUV bandwagon. I think the entry price car prices have gone up, and the average car prices have also gone up. Also, what I'm sensing is that with the IT services slowing down on net employment, if you look at it on an industry basis, and a lot of purchases being made in real estate, I think some of the discretionary consumption is coming under pressure. Frankly, I don't like the auto numbers that much. I mean, we talk about 6-7% real GDP growth, but if you look at auto sales, which we get hard data on a month-to-month basis, that would hardly indicate that, our economy is expanding at 6 to 7%. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on out there, but the demand looks to be quite weak.
All right. Well, those are some of the challenges that some companies in several sectors actually are dealing with. The challenge of low or no growth. Thank you for the perspective. Really good to have you on, Ashwini. Really appreciate you taking out the time this Friday. Thanks. Well, with that, guys, I guess it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Nigel, you said you'll be having a good time during this weekend. What about you?
Sleep.
Sleep? Okay.
What about you?
There's some fitness test tomorrow that I'll do. Maybe then catch a couple of these games. The boys in blue, so happy about
Indians,
that.
The way they have come
Indians.
back and the way they start is more interesting, because they start off slow. And then they've got the momentum with them. You know, my son was looking at the table and he said, Papa, just look at the number of green ticks because the last few, they have got the
last 7 games is what they've won.
Last 7 games, they've come back and now they're top of the table.
You know, one of the stats said that if Mumbai Indians has won 5 games on the trot in any season, they've reached the final.
Oh.
Let's see whether they go ahead and reach the final this
Speaking
time.
of cricket, maybe I'll watch out for Vaibhav's next innings.
Oh, yeah.
Wherever he's playing next.
He
That I'm
played
watching.
yesterday, didn't play very well, to be
play
very
very well.
honest.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, you can grant him that.
The
But I
kid got
think-
fire.
Yeah.
Kid got fire. He's got guts, you know, to step out and hit a pace bowler over his head. Wow, and bring up a century with a big 6, you know. That boy's got talent.
The only game I'm looking for is the battle of the old ones. I'm looking for Mumbai versus RCB at Chinnaswamy this weekend. Let's see. I mean, it could be the final before the final. Who knows?
Okay, so plenty to keep us busy. And we hope you have a great weekend as well. Thank you so much for being with us on Editors Roundtable. News and updates continue right after this short break.